I've come to make an announcement. Shadow the Hedgehog's out.
Snooping as usual, I see. I'm the angriest man who ever lived. Oh, that must be the pizza.
Sonic the Hedgehog is without a doubt the main character of the titular series. As the series goes on and on, other figures are added to the overall picture. Give Sonic a sidekick, we get Miles, Tails, Prower. Give him a rival of some kind, we get Knuckles, Metal Sonic, Shadow, and so on. One of the many possible love interests, Amy Rose, Sally Acorn, the list, you know how it goes. They've all been added as time goes on. But who's been with Sonic since the very beginning? The one person that's the bad guy. The one true evil of Sonic. That title goes to Dr. Ivo Robotnik, or as many know him as, given his large size, Dr. Eggman. Now why an Eggman video of all things? Well, strangely enough, even without the slightly dramatic monologue, my friend just casually said that having Dr. Eggman in Smash Brothers would be pretty dope, right? I agreed, of course, and kind of remembered a rumor about how Sakurai would actually want Eggman as well, making him like Bowser Jr. in his mech, because that's what he's known for. But then it got me thinking and realizing that Dr. Eggman is probably the most consistent Sonic character in the franchise. Let me lay down the groundwork first. That Shadow video I did some time ago, the basis of it was talking about how Shadow's character has been through more ups and downs than a volleyball. And I myself haven't made these videos, but I know there are a handful of other ones talking about the same thing for other characters. Tails, Knuckles, Silver, and even Sonic, which I even touched upon a bit. They all have the same thing in common, talking about how they've kind of changed for the worse than better. They've declined a bit, or more. And those are major or popular characters. And you think the same would happen to Eggman, right? Well, you know what? Not so much. You go throughout the games and even a little bit of the TV series, Eggman has more or less been the same, and that's pretty much a good thing. He's just the villain of the series, and that's that. He's been there since the very first game as the main threat, and to this day, he's still the #1 villain. Granted, as the games continue, different antagonists show up and take the spotlight, even if their execution is off. Eggman still has some part of why that happened to begin with, though. Perfect Chaos was the final boss of Sonic Adventure, but Eggman was the one feeding him Chaos Emeralds from the start. Dark Gaia reached his final form and nearly destroyed the planet, due to Eggman waking him up in the first place. He may not be the concluding enemy of the game sometimes, but he's the reason why Sonic and friends end up in the situations they do in the first place. Platformers, and typically any series that's been going on for nearly 3 decades, would have a rogues gallery for the main character. Just look at Crash Bandicoot. There's Tiny Tiger, Dingodile, N Jin, N Trophy, and the most forbidden one of them all, N-word, Negative. But everyone knows the #1 villain for Crash and Friends is none other than Dr. Neo Cortex. Huh, another mad scientist. I actually didn't think about that.
With a nice big drink, and a woman with nice big bags of ice for my head.
Anyways, Knuckles and Silver were guys who didn't know any better. Shadow went from being villain to anti-hero to borderline hero. Eggman is just villain through and through. That's a fact. He has his funny moments from time to time and may be the dumbest 300 IQ man inspired by the greatest president that has ever lived and a supposed feminist. He's still the villain, and always has been, and I know I wouldn't want it any other way. Now, Eggman is great in the games, going from the only big bad of wanting to control an entire city or the whole world, to surprisingly taking a back seat for a bit and is on the ally side for a while, mostly so he also doesn't get destroyed in the process. Even with moments where he's not that much of a threat to the overall narrative and being played up for laughs, he's still awesome. I may not have heard too much of Dean Bristow growing up, but he's really good as the crazy inventor. He gives off this menacing vibe and someone who can mean business when he wants to. It's really good.
Well, well, young lady, is there something I can help you with?
Dr. Eggman!
If you value your life, you will tell me where Sonic and Tails are.
And Mike Pollock is the voice of Eggman I'm sure everyone is familiar with. You can tell he has fun voicing Eggman. He has both ends of the spectrum locked, of being able to be absolutely hilarious without trying, to sounding pretty damn ruthless.
I will burn your world, you rebellious scum! I will destroy everything you love and make you rot! No!
Boss, your hands!
As long as I can still strangle a Zeti, my hands are fine.
Now, quite frankly, I broke Eggman down to the most basic level, and he really speaks for himself when it comes to the games, cartoons, memes, and, well, anything else you can find on the internet to do with his name. However, the comics, on the other hand, is where Eggman is on a whole nother league. Or should I say, and start with Dr. Julian Kentabor. This is no secret, but as you can clearly tell during the era of Robotnik in the early 90s, he looks nothing like what he's supposed to within the games or even in some of the advertisements. Well, that was due to the American take on him, of thinking that those dark blue or black glasses he had were supposed to be him with black sclera. That's why in the early cartoons, they took the idea and went with it. I'll definitely say it gives him a more sinister look to him. Now, with how the comics went, it's rather confusing, so I hope you can keep up with what I'm about to say. So, again, at least in America, for the first few years, Eggman was mostly known as Robotnik, since the comics came out rather early in Sonic's overall debut, April 6, 1993, so almost 30 years ago. I'm so goddamn old. In the start of the comics, the stories weren't really all that convoluted yet. They were mostly Robotnik making up some dumb idea, Sonic stops it, or Sonic does his own thing with doing whatever. Right around issue 25 to 30 is where the comic would begin picking up real continuity, issue by issue and arc by arc. Robotnik was starting to be a real hazard to society. Then the Endgame arc happened, which I'm not going to get into extreme detail because a lot happens within just a handful of issues, but focusing on Robotnik specifically, he made this weapon and machine that was basically what the Infinity Snap would do from Avengers, so wipe out everything. But after Sonic deals with the biggest wave of bullshit he's ever had in his life, he finally fights Robotnik mano a mano, and it's pretty good. However, the weapon still goes off and they are both vaporized. But Sonic apparently survives due to the 1000th or 1,000,000th ring he got dozens of issues prior. Crazy stuff. And from that, Robotnik is technically dead. Yeah, and I'm serious. Mostly due to the fact that Endgame was going to be the absolute finale of the comic, but they decided to continue it. So you would think, with no Eggman, there's no conflict. Well, he may be gone, but the damage he's done to the planet is still there, and then a new enemy emerges in his stead. Anxus Nagus, some powerful wizard. That's actually pretty similar to how Saturday M ended, with the cliffhanger of showing Nagus. Though, if you were in the know, you would know... Though, if you were in the know and anyone knows, you would know that nothing really happens, you know? In other words, cancellation. So for dozens of chapters, no Robotnik. And this was basically their way to transition Robotnik to Eggman, and they do count them as separate characters. The Freedom Fighters go up into space and find out that Robotnik had this robot of himself or something. They beat it and went about their life as normal. But where they fought was home to a bunch of different bodies for him. It's kind of like Tom from Toonami, where if his body gets thrashed, his consciousness will just go to a new one. And that's how Dr. Eggman was born, or created. As the comics continue, he would return to his throne of being the #1 baddie for the series. And as it kept going, Eggman surprisingly got more vicious with his schemes. The biggest one that comes to mind are the issues of 175 and 176. When he invaded and destroyed all of Sonic's hometown, beat the ever-living shit and piss out of him, captured everyone, and was gonna drain them of their life just because he could. He's literally the reason why Charmy is stupid, and I'm not making that up either. Eggman is quite the motherfucker. I'm gonna geek out a little bit more and say when Eggman was at his true peak as a villain and monster. There was a second time where he wasn't the main bad guy. At issue 200, he was defeated again and went insane. Like, had to be restrained and locked up insane, and the Iron Queen took over, which involved Eggman's assistant, who's also his nephew or something, Snively, whatever. Eggman's locked away for a minute, but he gets a real great plan while incarcerated, that being the Death Egg. Yeah, that thing. And as odd as it looks within the comics compared to the games, by issue 225 all the way to 247, that is the master plan arc. This damn thing caused a lot of damage on all fronts. It destroyed a big portion of Sonic's new home city, New Metropolis, literally rewrote reality for an entire arc twice. He was becoming the cause of the freedom fighters breaking down very quickly. Sally was first killed, then turned into a robot. Bunny lost her cybernetics, mainly from Nagas, but that was because of Eggman's giant mech. Antoine just fucking died, and he just doesn't stop there. This dude is on an egg roll. All of his high-ranking employees have bombs in their bodies from his work. Snively betrayed him, like, not too long after that, but eventually got caught, and Eggman locked him away in a small cage, in a place no one can find him, and then just let them there to rot and die. And that's the last we see of him. Good freaking god. Eggman is a damn beast. His own arc in the Universe comics is my favorite, because it caught me by surprise of just like how good it was, and we get to see everything from his perspective as if he was the main character, and he's so fucking fun. Like, one of the other cool things he does, like, I think that works for him, is that he has people lined up, held hostage, and he was going to play a game with them via firing squad. Like, holy shit. It's so good. Like, he is the one true evil. Nothing comes close. I love Eggman. He really is just the one character that stays faithful to himself as a villain for the most part throughout the series this entire time. It's incredible. I love Eggman. And that's pretty much everything that I have to say about him. It wasn't too analytical, it was more of just like a breakdown of his character and like throughout the years, but you know, when you go throughout the years, you realize, huh, you know, he's actually like pretty consistent. And that's what I really like about him compared to like, well, every other character. You know, he's not just thrown away from one game, or, you know, his character doesn't flip-flop left and right, or it's not used to the fullest potential. I mean, sometimes it is, but again, he's always there causing trouble because that's what he does. That's who he is. He is the Eggman. So, yeah, that's pretty much about it. I think the only other thing that I probably could have commented on was about the Sonic the Comic, so the UK version of the comics and everything. That apparently follows more... And, oh man, that apparently follows more to the Sonic Bible, which is like something completely different. And I do know about it, but I think the video's gone on long enough, and that can kind of just be its own separate thing. Maybe I could. I mean, personally, I have not read the UK comics, like, at all. But I kind of know how some things go. But yeah, that could just be an entire video in and of itself. So, yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. You know what to do with all the links that I provide and everything of the sort. Stay safe out there. Thank you for watching. That's greatly appreciated, of course. Have a great day, have a great night, and everything else, you know what to do. Bye.